Hello everyone, Nick the DM here, and I have a different kind of video today for you all. I was browsing 5th edition books and I was suddenly struck with inspiration. What monsters can deal the most damage? Not over a round or a turn, but in one attack. So that's what I did. Here are the top 15 single highest attack damage monsters in D&D 5e. Now I have a few ground rules before we start. Number 1, I am using maximum hit dice for each attack rather than average, just for the sake of higher numbers. So any attack requiring a saving throw, I'm considering a character failed that save. Number 2, I'm not considering instant death effects like the Bodak's Death Gaze or the Soldier's Slaying Bow. I'm simply looking at maximum damage output in terms of numbers. Number 3, abilities can apply to the attack. So monsters that have the ability to charge forwards or have the ability that uses movement will have all abilities applied to the attack as long as they can do it in one turn with one actual attack. So swallowing an opponent won't count because that damage accumulates over time. Number 4, I'm including ties, so I'll mention all monsters for that placement. And finally, number 5, I'm not including spells because I'd have to debate if creatures had to keep the spells that they were given in the stat block or if they could alternate spells within their class and spell levels. And certain spells can just be absolutely disastrous in terms of damage, but I will place one spellcaster on the list as an honorable mention. Now into the list. Coming in at number 15, we have Zariel from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Her maximum damage output in a single attack is 92 damage, with her two-handed longsword strike, dealing 2d10 plus 8 slashing damage and 8d8 fire damage. That is Zariel at number 15. Coming in at number 14, we have the Ancient Brass Dragon with its Fire Breath, which can deal a total of 96 damage on a failed save. Now, of course, you have to factor in it's a recharge, so it won't be dealing this damage every round, but if you do manage to deal maximum damage, this can be devastating to even a high-level party. Coming in at number 13, we have a 6-way tie between the Ulitherid, and Illithid Lich with their Extract Brain dealing 100 piercing damage, the Death Tyrant and Beholder with their Death Ray dealing 100 necrotic damage, and Juablex with its Eject Slime ability dealing 100 acid damage. At number 12, we have the Warforged Colossus from Eberron Rising from the Last War with its Incinerating Beam ability. The Incinerating Beam ability can do 110 damage, 11 d10 radiant damage in an 150-foot line. So quite a devastating attack, and one of my favorite creatures from the Eberron Rising from the Last War book. At number 11, we have the Ancient Copper Dragon with its Acid Breath, which can deal 112 damage in a single turn. Coming into the top 10, starting off number 10, we have the Githzerai Enlightened. The Githzerai Enlightened comes from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and its devastating attack is its Temporal Strike. The Temporal Strike deals normally 2d8 plus 4 bludgeoning damage and 8d12 psychic damage, as well as the additional effect of, on a failed save, throwing the target one round forward in time. But maximum damage output, what we're looking at, is 116 damage, that is bludgeoning and psychic mixed, which is an insane amount of damage, especially for a CR10 monster. Coming in at number 9, we have another tie, this time between 4 creatures. The Ancient Silver Dragon with its Cold Breath, the Ancient Black Dragon with its Acid Breath, the Death Knight with its Hellfire Orb, and the Behir with its Lightning Breath. Each of these attacks do 120 damage. The Cold Breath dealing cold damage, the Black Dragon's Acid Breath dealing acid damage, the Hellfire Orb from the Death Knight dealing half necrotic and half fire, and the Behir doing 120 lightning damage. Coming in at number 8, we have a tie between the Ancient White Dragon, dealing 126 damage with its Cold Breath, and the Red Abishai with 126 damage with its Bite. The Red Abishai, with its Bite attack, deals 5d10 plus 6 piercing damage, plus an additional 7d10 fire damage, which is an astronomical amount of damage, not to mention this is also part of a multi-attack. So devastating, even more so than the Ancient White Dragon. Coming in at number 7, we have the Ancient Gold Dragon with its Fire Breath that can deal a total of 130 fire damage. Not a lot, considering the Ancient Gold Dragon is one of the highest CR creatures in 5th edition. Coming in at number 6, we have Sul Katesh from Eberron Rising from the Last War with Arcane Cataclysm, which can deal 132 force damage on a failed save, which is absolutely nuts considering there are multiple of these that fall down with the ability itself. It's almost like a meteor swarm, but with force damage. Coming in at number 5, the Ancient Green Dragon, which can do 136 poison damage with its Poison Breath. Number 4, we have one of the creatures whose damage comes not only from its attack, but one of its additional abilities. We have the Stone Juggernaut, seen at CR 12 in Tomb of Annihilation. The ability that deals the most damage with the Juggernaut is its Slam attack, which deals 3d12 plus 6 bludgeoning damage, and if the target fails to save, they are knocked prone. Then the ability Devastating Roll, where the Juggernaut can move through a space of a prone creature. A creature whose space the Juggernaut enters for the first time on a turn must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 10d10 bludgeoning damage on a failed save or half on a success. Considering this is still only one attack and then just movement speed over top of the creature, and we are considering failed saves and max damage, the Stone Juggernaut can do a devastating 142 bludgeoning damage with a single attack and a little bit of its movement speed, which is insane for a CR 12 creature. Coming in at number 3, similar to the Stone Juggernaut with a single attack and an ability, we have the Garistro. The Garistro is a demon from the Monster Manual whose damage comes from its Gore attack and its Charge. Firstly, its Charge attack, if the Garistro moves at least 15 feet straight towards a target and then hits it with a Gore attack on the same turn, the target takes an additional 7d10 piercing damage. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed 20 feet away and knocked prone. But besides that, that's an additional 7d10 on top of the Gore attack, which is already 7d10 plus 7, which is a total of 147 damage with a single attack. That's piercing damage, by the way. That's absolutely devastating. This is a CR 17 creature, so it's pretty strong, but it's just, and of course Gore is a full round action, but it is an insane amount of damage, and it's one of my favorite creatures just for that reason specifically. Coming in at number 2, a shocker for pretty much no one that it's going to be on this list, the Ancient Red Dragon with its Fire Breath, which can deal at 26d6 a total of 156 fire damage. That's a lot of damage, but considering fire is one of the most resisted and immune damages in the game, it's not too devastating to a party, especially if they have if they're properly equipped. They have things like a barbarian, maybe a tiefling or two, and resistances overall will lower that damage down, but it's still a devastating amount of damage, especially if it's just going around blazing towns. Before we get to the number one place on this list, I want to make an honorable mention. And the reason this person is on the list is because they made me write a rule specifically for them. This is Halaster Blackcloak from Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Halaster would be the number one highest damage in a single turn creature, or in a single attack creature, if I included spells, because Halaster is one of the only, or probably the only creature I could find that listed in his spell list Meteor Swarm, which can deal 240 damage between bludgeoning and fire if dealt at maximum dice with failed saving throws. Now, that's one of the reasons I decided not to, because there are many creatures throughout 5th edition who have 9th level spell slots, but they aren't specifically listed to have Meteor Swarm, unlike Halaster, who was. And if that was the case, because Dungeon Master can switch out spells as they please for the most part, this whole list would just be filled by spellcasters. So that's one of the reasons I knocked it out, because it would just be the same ability all the time. But anyways, with Halaster, our honorable mention out of the way, let's go to our number one spot. Number one is a three-way tie between an ancient blue dragon, an ancient bronze dragon, and Tiamat from Rise of Tiamat in 5th edition. The highest damage dealing attack that they all possess is the Lightning Breath, which is a total of 160 lightning damage. And this comes from, of course, 16d10, which is the normal dice. And it's also, at least for the Bronze Dragon, is a 10-foot wide line. So this can be pretty devastating if you can line up the party and hit them with this, especially in terms of Tiamat, which I did say it was in a single attack, and technically Tiamat's breath weapons are legendary actions, but I just included that because it was still technically one attack, even if it's not on her turn. It's just a single attack, and I've looked at other creatures' legendary actions compared. Tiamat's the only one who can deal this amount of damage. And that is the 15 highest single damage attack monsters in D&D. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please consider liking the video, subscribing for more videos like this, and drop a comment, because a comment, not only you can suggest videos for me to do or topics or anything, it'll also push me further in the YouTube algorithm. So comment another list for me to make. If you looked at my other videos, I normally talk lore and stats on earlier edition monsters, sometimes transferring them from like 3.5 2nd edition Advanced D&D to 5th edition. So give me a monster to stat out, give me some lore to look into, another list, like I said. But any suggestions you have, I'm totally up for. I enjoy making videos like this, and if you push me higher in the algorithm, I can continue to make more videos like this. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!